Forget the angels. Forget the superheroes. If humans could fly, biologically, for real, right now, you would not look majestic soaring over a city at sunrise. You would look like Batman after a steroid overdose, chest jutting out half a meter in front of you, back shredded from trying to counterbalance the whole nightmare, desperately flapping your way to a gas station at 7 a.m. because you've already burned through 4,000 calories before the sun came up. That's not a joke. That's the physics. And it gets so much worse and so much weirder from here. Let's start with something that actually has a scientific answer. A biologist at UNC Chapel Hill ran the numbers using a peer-reviewed scaling equation from ornithology. And for a 70-kilogram human body, the required wingspan comes out to roughly 6 meters, about the length of a city bus, tip to tip. The researchers' own reaction? I thought it was surprisingly small. Now, the only real-world animal ever recorded near that size-to-weight ratio was Argentavis magnificens, an extinct bird 6 million years ago, roughly human weight, 7-meter wingspan. It could fly. But it had hollow bones, a completely redesigned skeleton, and flight muscles packed across nearly a third of its total body mass. Without all of that, the wings alone are just decoration. So let's talk about those flight muscles, because this is where it stops being funny and starts being genuinely disturbing. In birds, the pectoral muscles, the ones powering every single downstroke, account for 16 to 30% of total body mass. Scale that to a human, and you get a chest that protrudes roughly half a meter from your ribcage. Half a meter. The depth of a carry-on suitcase. Attached to your sternum. Permanently. You wouldn't look like a superhero. You'd look like a T-Rex that got into CrossFit. All torso, spindly legs, absolutely terrifying at a dinner party. And your spine becomes a counterweight system. Thick cables of dorsal muscle fighting the front. You'd also need a keel bone, a literal ridge running down the center of your sternum, like a chicken's, just to give the pectoral muscles enough leverage to actually work. And then there's the energy cost. Hummingbirds burn roughly 10 times their resting metabolic rate while hovering. That's a documented biological fact. Scale that demand upward to a 70-kilogram body, and aerodynamic models put the daily calorie requirement at somewhere north of 10,000 calories. That's not a meal plan. That's a full-time job eating. You wake up and immediately start consuming. You eat between meetings. You eat during your commute. You land, eat again, take off. Your entire conscious life becomes structured around one single question. Have I eaten enough to not fall out of the sky? Non-stop, morning to night. One long buffet, or you crash. Okay, let's say you've got the biology sorted. The chest, the wings, the caloric infrastructure. Now let's talk about what it actually feels like up there. Not the movie version, the engineering version. At a modest cruising speed of 60 kilometers per hour, your face becomes a biological air filter. Every gnat, every midge, every particle of airborne debris in your flight path. Your face is the collection surface. But here's the part most people don't think about. If thousands of humans are flying above a city, everything that leaves their bodies while airborne goes directly downward, onto the people below. Onto you, if you're in a lower lane. The term partly cloudy takes on an entirely new meaning. Flying beneath a packed rush hour corridor becomes a public health event. Your eyes need full aerodynamic sealing. Your mouth stays shut. At 60 kilometers per hour, a gnat hits with the force of a small projectile. Aerodynamic eyewear stops being a fashion choice and becomes a basic survival requirement. The kind of thing that gets a safety rating and a government mandate within 6 months of the first incident. And then there's the collision problem, which nobody seems to talk about. We have entire international frameworks governing aviation collision avoidance, transponders, radar, designated corridors, mandatory lighting. Now imagine replacing all of that with millions of biological entities making real-time navigation decisions at varying speeds and reaction times. Two humans flying toward each other at 60 kilometers per hour have a closing speed of 120 kilometers per hour. That's a car crash. In the sky. With no airbags. Every Tuesday morning. And somewhere around 3,000 meters, where an ambitious commuter might try to cruise, oxygen deprivation starts affecting cognitive function in people who haven't acclimatized. Slower thinking, poor judgment, mild euphoria, which is a fascinating cognitive state to be in while navigating crowded airspace, post-bug impact, doing the math on your calorie deficit. Now zoom out. Not just you flying, everyone flying. The first thing that dies is privacy. And I mean that literally, not metaphorically. The entire concept of a private outdoor space depends on horizontal access control. Walls, fences, locks. Remove the ground as the primary plane of movement, and every surface becomes a landing pad. Your rooftop, your balcony on the 20th floor, which you thought was elevated and therefore safe. Now it's just a platform at a crowded intersection. Architecture has to rewrite itself from scratch. Front doors migrate to rooftops. Ground floors become freight infrastructure. Streets either become cargo lanes or empty out entirely. Then governments move, and they move fast. Airspace is already legally contested territory. Commercial aviation runs under strict international frameworks. The moment individuals can access that space freely, the regulatory response is total and immediate. You need a flight license. Registered corridors for your daily commute. Restricted zones around everything reachable from above, which is now, effectively, everything. And you will need a registration number on your body. Not in your wallet, on your body. A QR code tattooed on your wing membrane. Or a biometric chip embedded in your shoulder that government drones scan as you pass through a regulated corridor. The DMV was annoying. Welcome to the Aerial Vehicle Authority, a new bureaucracy with jurisdiction over your literal flesh. The no-fly zone stops being a place on a map. It becomes personal. Your airspace is regulated. Your body is now infrastructure. But here's the one nobody sees coming. For all of recorded human history, flight was a dream. It shows up in every mythology, every religion, every culture that ever existed, independently, without contact. The desire to fly is one of the oldest shared things humans have. And if flying becomes commuting, if it becomes the thing you do every Tuesday morning while eating your 5th meal and checking your flight permit, we lose that dream. We replace it with nothing. Because you cannot dream about something you already do. Icarus didn't represent hubris. He represented the one thing humans have always needed. Something above them, still worth reaching for. Give us the sky. Really give it to us as a mundane biological fact, and we stop looking up. Here's the question I want to leave you with. If everyone could fly, if it was just a normal, boring, biological function of being human, would anyone actually do it? Think about what happened to legs. Humans evolved to walk. We are extraordinarily efficient upright bipeds. Walking is practically free for us energetically. And yet the moment we had the option to stop walking and sit in a vehicle, we took it. Massively, enthusiastically, permanently. Obesity rates, collapsed arch epidemics, chronic back pain. We chose convenience over the thing our bodies were literally built to do. Now apply that exact logic to flying. Flying, as we've established, is metabolically brutal. Cold, exposed, bug impacted, 10,000 calories a day, and one bad altitude judgment away from a cognitive impairment event. The moment someone builds a climate-controlled, cushioned, zero-effort aerial pod, and someone will, immediately, the majority of the flying population gets in the box and stops using their wings. Then someone invents the aerial couch, fully reclined, with a screen and a snack dispenser. Then a subscription service. Then surge pricing during rush hour. Then a monthly plan that costs more than your rent. We will evolve the ability to fly, and within 2 generations invent the sky car, because flying is exhausting. Think pieces will appear about wing atrophy. Wellness retreats called Natural Flight will charge $600 for a weekend where you remember how to use your own body. School programs will push kids to fly to class instead of taking the aerial bus, and the kids will take the aerial bus.